show, guys. We're here today with Ben Elliot. How are you going today, Ben?
Yeah, good man, good.
Awesome. So, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and how you got into it.
Yeah, cool. So, 29 at the moment, but when I was 18, 19, 20, I was a personal trainer at Fitness First. So I was the typical kind of trainer where I was always giving the right advice nutritionally, right advice with exercise and stuff. But I noticed a lot of people that just had the mindset blocks. They wanted the goal, they wanted it really badly, but they couldn't take the action on it, couldn't exercise by themselves, couldn't change their food habits, had full-on cravings and addictions to food. And with me personally, at that time running that business, my motivation was either sky high or I had none of it. Some days I was super motivated, some days I was super confident and driven, and then other days I was just super lazy and just couldn't figure out what was going on. I really wanted to do something, but my mind was getting in the way. So I started looking into different ways of how I can change those automatic thoughts and those automatic feelings. I looked into certain types of psychology and it was okay, but what I found is there was a lot of talking and I was always left with, now what do I do? You know, how do I actually change those things? So I got into hypnotherapy, got into a therapy called Neuro Linguistic programming. So basically what that was about is tapping into the subconscious mind, where all the automatic thoughts come from, all the automatic programmings, conditionings, all the automatic feelings come from. And basically over the last 8 years I've been helping people and myself tap into that part of the brain and completely change it. So now there's no longer an issue with my motivation, never procrastinate. If I have a goal, I know how to renew my mind to be able to go straight for it. And if there's any block holding me back, a food craving, a laziness, a fear, I just know how to tap into the mind and make those changes to completely eliminate those blocks. So
yeah, no, awesome. This all sounds really interesting, and it's something that I think isn't always spoken about. Not a lot of people know about NLP, and it's definitely something that I know can be really helpful to getting people to what they want to get to.
Yeah.
8 years ago you were in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that to begin with. How has fitness changed over those 8 years, in your opinion?
Oh, huge. Back in the day, it was kind of like the typical, a lot of bodybuilding kind of stuff and things like that, and everyone was kind of just doing their weights and their cardio and stuff. Now with CrossFit emerging, a lot of people wanting to be really functional, really strong. But the main thing I've noticed is that people have started to realize that you can have the best exercise, the best gym, you can have the best food available to you, but it's about how do we get more of the mind around it. I've worked with a lot of fitness models and people like that, and there's been a massive shift where even they've noticed that you can look really, really lean, but you can be really weak and you can be really unhealthy still. And a lot of people have really noticed that it's all about the mindset now, and that's what I've kind of noticed. So a lot of people are wanting to get not only physically strong, functionally strong, and get really healthy, but I've also noticed that people's minds, they've also wanted to have that quality of life along with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's something that we see through social media a lot nowadays. You get mindset quotes going through Facebook all the time, which is, I guess, not something that would have been, we didn't have social media that long ago to the extent that we do now, but that wasn't something that was spoken about quite as openly, I guess. People were becoming a little bit more, I think, well-versed with, motivational coaches, people like Anthony Robbins, and things like that. Did you have somebody that, I guess, inspired your journey at the beginning, or was it mostly just you kind of knew that you wanted to get into hypnotherapy and you went down that route?
Well, mine kind of came out of like a little bit of desperation and a whole bunch of failure and a whole bunch of trial and error. So I read basically every self-help book under the sun, and I got a lot of information, but not a lot of stuff actually changed me. So when I actually met one of my mentors who was originally from the USA, he actually did some coaching with Anthony Robbins and he was one of his proteges. But he came out to Adelaide one day and he introduced me to NLP and hypnotherapy, and we did some techniques and I just felt different straight away. Things have started shifting. So I've had heaps of mentors over the years, from business coaches to other people who are into the mindset game. But in terms of one person, it wasn't really one person. It was more like, I need to get to this point, and I just had to find the right person to help me get there. Over the years, it's become more and more study of neuroscience and how the brain can change itself and things like that. So
no, really cool. So I guess if there's no one coach, I guess life was a coach, through desperation and failure, and something that a lot of people get to. We have these goals and we hit that wall, where it's failure and you keep trying different things. What made you realize that you had to change your approach and you had to try something different?
So well, there's been heaps of things along the way, but probably the biggest thing I noticed something was wrong when my mindset back in the time was like, I need to make $10,000 a month. If I don't make $10,000 a month, then I'm not at this percent body fat and I'm not this fit. Unless that's happening, then I'm not really a success in life. So what happened is I started pushing so hard towards that goal, had so much stress, and even though I started off loving the fitness side of things, and I loved health, and I loved coaching people and being a personal trainer, at that point I was realizing the thing I used to love, it just became an absolute burden. Hard to train myself, hard to train others, and when I finally hit that goal of you just made 10 grand a month, hit that 3 months in a row, and I was still completely unfulfilled. So I realized there's got to be something going on here. You know, I can now do the things, but the quality of life wasn't there. So I had to find out, how can I do the same things, work the same amount of hours, but have like even more enjoyment than before.
And, you know, actually be happy.
Exactly right. Yeah.
There's a good quote that I always look back to, and I remember the first time I heard it, it made sense. But as I get older, and I keep, we all have these goals that we hit, and we get to it, we're like, oh well, nothing's really changed. Happiness isn't having, it's not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. Which is really deep, and it speaks so much to things that happen to us. I was a business owner as well, and I had these financial goals that I wanted to hit at the start, and you get there and you realize nothing's changed. And with CrossFit, one of my big goals at the start was I really wanted to lift, I really wanted to clean and jerk 100 kilos. And then that happened, and then it was like, well, I want to do 110 and 120 and 130, and it just, there's no end goal to that. And unless you realize that happiness is going to come from within, not from, the outside, it can be hard to, feel fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key, because like a lot of how the brain works, it's always wanting more, and that's totally healthy and it's totally fine. You want to go from 100 to 110, you want to go from this look to that look, and it's always going to shift and get better and better, and that's good. But what will happen is you need to be able to enjoy everything along the way, and that's why a lot of people, they'll use like this fear or negativity to try and motivate themselves to achieve their goals. The alarm will go off at 5 in the morning, and they'll go, you better get up, otherwise you'll be fat forever, or you better get out of bed, otherwise this is going to happen, or if you don't change this in your life, then fear, pain. And they're using their adrenaline system all the time to motivate themselves, but eventually they crash. They finally get to the goal, realize that, oh, that feels good for a few days, and then they have to set another one, and then the brain's using fear, negativity, beating themselves up all the time. The negative self-talk is just going crazy, and that's why you see these people who yo-yo, or these people who just crash all the time. You know what I mean? They're just being driven by these fears and negativities, instead of actually waking up in the morning, can't wait to hit the gym, can't wait to get CrossFit, can't wait to get that better time, can't wait to lift that thing, what I mean? Can't wait to see the people who are going to be there, you know what I mean? And that enjoyment really needs to be with people along the way. So,
what do you think is a better motivator, negativity or positivity?
Well, it's got to be positivity. A lot of people only know, though, at a subconscious level, how to use pain to motivate themselves. What will happen is a lot of people go through school, and if they're anything like me, I hated school, I wasn't good at school, but we always use deadlines, which is a fear or a negativity, to motivate ourselves. We got an assignment due, so then our brain learns how to use that pain, use that fear, use that worst case scenario thought to then motivate ourselves, So then we kind of take that into all of our goals, though. I did it. It's like, okay, now I want to achieve this in my career, I want to achieve that in my relationship, I want to achieve that in my health, and then they use that same, I call it a stick. Like you got a donkey, you can motivate a donkey 2 ways. You can use a stick and whack it, and it'll move forward, and then you can also use a big juicy carrot in front of it. Now the thing is, if you're always using a stick, right, the stick will motivate the donkey and it'll move a few steps, but then it'll stop again. Then you have to whack it even harder and it starts moving. You have to keep whacking it harder and harder. And the people who live like that, they're always burning out, they're always stress heads. It eventually catches up with them, and eventually they're just not enjoying life as much as they were. People who find a way to get driven by vision, by enjoyment of the process, by having a goal that's going to make them feel fulfilled, and they have a lot of positive motivators, like doing it with certain people or whatever else it may be. Helping others is a big one. But when they have that carrot in front, they're always consistently moving forward, and they're the type of people who can do they can do a 3-hour workout and love it. They're the people who can work a 14-hour day if they need to, you know what I mean? So it's really key.
And that's something that's, I think, is really interesting, because if anybody listening is a business owner, or you work a job where you're having to be there long times of the day, and you're there for most of the day, for me, it's 5:30 in the morning till 9 p.m. at night. If you really love what you're doing, there's no complaining at any stage. It's it's a really fulfilling process. You know, you finish the day and you go like, well, cool, can't wait to do it again. Yeah. And it's not like it's not something that you say because you feel like this is what I have to say, but it's something that you feel because it's genuinely what you are where you want to be in life. Yeah. You're not where you'd rather, you know, you're not constantly thinking about where you'd rather be. Yeah. Like when people get to that stage, it is very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's key, yeah. One story on that, I was working with a CEO one time, and this is where this thing really opened up to me. He was a guy who was working very similar hours to you, but he was coming to me because he was burnt out, stressed and anxious. And I said to him, look man, you just got to get away from work for a while. So he finally said, okay, going to the snow, 3 days of skiing. I went, okay, but you're so burnt out, shouldn't you just be sleeping? Yeah. And he ended up going away, he came back, 3 days of skiing, and I seen him on the when he came back, and he looked totally fresh, totally recovered. And I said, what, did you just sleep in your cabin the whole time, or what did you do? And he goes, no, actually, while it was daylight, I was on the slopes. Yeah. I went, wait, you're burnt out, you're tired, yet you still did physical activity for 3 days straight, somehow you feel and look completely refreshed. Yeah. And I actually found out through studying his mind, the difference was skiing was enjoyable, he had all the positivity with it, he could exert his body more physically than being at work, but felt way more fresh because of the exact same thing you're talking about, just the enjoyment of the process all the time.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
you know,
so key.
Me and my partner, we joke around this about this all the time. We get exercise hangry. So like if we don't get to train during the day, like we start getting in a bad mood. And both me and my partner will train, you know, she'll train 3 times, you know, in a day. So it's not like we haven't trained through the day, but you know, we just like we found this thing that we just like love so much, you know, and that I guess we don't need anyone else there to be doing it with. It's not about having music, you know, we just found this thing that's, you know, very zen for us. Yeah. And you know, it's a happy place to go to. Yeah. And once you connect with that, you know, like, and you can get it into your day. Yeah. You know, no matter if it doesn't, and as we've grown older and, you know, life gets busier, you know, we've started realizing that it doesn't have to be the gym, it can just be, it's just moving for us, you know, it's just, you know, we feel good moving. So whether it's doing burpees in the kitchen, whatever it is, you have to do what you got to do to get yourself to a good state.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is someone will look at that who's not motivated with exercise and they go, man, this guy, he has amazing willpower. But for you, it just feels so natural, hey?
Oh no, it's just more happiness, yeah.
Exactly.
It's not willpower.
Yeah, there's no beating yourself up. It's just like, I get to do this, you know? Yeah. That's a great way. Yeah.
With people, do you think a lot of people just don't take the time to realise? I'm not trying to say count their blessings, but especially with exercise, you know, for me, it's a big thing about, you know, I'm blessed enough to the stage that I can get to train, you know? Yeah. Like I don't look at it as like, oh, like it's something that, it's not punishment, it's like I feel lucky enough that I have the ability to have an hour a day to go train. And I think a lot of people, it doesn't have to be exercise, but with a lot of things in life that they are starting to hold some sort of negative emotion with, they don't view it that way. They try and get the negative side of it. They don't, what is the way that you found people can learn to appreciate things in their life a bit better?
Cool. Well, if we go kind of like one step deeper than that, because what can happen is sometimes happy, positive people, they'll say to someone, just cheer up and be happy. But then people go, well, how do I do that? So if I break it down even more, right, is we have 70,000 thoughts every single day. So that's one thought every 1.2 seconds. There's a new thought going through the mind. Yeah. A lot of them are in the background, right? Now, when we think at a subconscious level, we think in pictures and movies. So that's a daydream, that's a visual picture. Yeah. We think in self-talk and emotional reactions, right? So what will happen is so many people are so blind with what's happening in the back of their mind that when they think of exercise, they might create an image of themselves running on a treadmill with knee pain, feeling gross. They have a self-talk that automatically pops in their head saying, oh, this is gonna suck. You know, so what will happen is then that's how they perceive exercise all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but people do that in all of life. You know, they think about, going to work, and then they have an image of someone they don't like. They have an image of how hard it's going to be. They have an image of how boring it's going to be. So that's the real key there. Is a lot of people, they just can't focus on the good qualities because their mind is automatically creating those images of negativity, automatically having those self-talks of negativity, automatically having those yucky kind of feelings and reaction to those activities. So people are so unaware of it, they don't know how they can change it. And that's really the key, you know? Whereas someone else, they might have had a life-changing event, or they might just be like really disciplined in their thinking, and then they can stop and go, wow, like, you know, I've got this, and people in the third world don't have it. You know, I went to Bali, and then I walk around dirt streets and there's people begging for money. All of a sudden you come back and your whole pictures, your whole thought, and your whole world's changed. You know what I mean? Because you have a perspective shift. But for a lot of people, they just are so blind to what's happening in their mind. You know what I mean? So
no, definitely. 70,000 thoughts in a day. That's a lot.
It's huge. Yeah.
Think about that, guys. We're going to take a small break. When we return, we'll keep talking about this. All right, guys, we're back. Next thing we want to talk to Ben about is going to be we all put limits to our goals in life. You know, we sometimes get scared of wanting to reach too high. There's a good quote. Again, I like these quotes. Yeah. You know, aim for the moon. Reach for the stars, land on the moon. Yeah. Something along the lines of that. And I feel like, especially as I deal with clients, you know, every day, people are scared to be like, you know, I want to be able to run a marathon. They go, no, like I just want to get to 5Ks. Yeah. You know, I don't want to actually, you know, I can't run a marathon. And they put like a limit to themselves. And, you know, we do a little bit of coaching with people in that side of things, and, you know, try and sit down and try and talk to them and tell them, you know, like you're putting a limit to your success, you know, why are you doing that? Talk to us a little bit about that and why people do that.
Yeah, well, first off, the human mind just has an amazing amount of potential. We've seen like people who are in their 60s, never lifted up a dumbbell in their life, and then starting lifting weights at 60, they become bodybuilders and professionals, all that kind of stuff. So at any age, the mind can learn anything and achieve anything. But what usually happens is basically comes through like poor experiences and stuff like that. You know, people aren't used to dreaming. They're used to being just in the normal routine. They finally then have a goal, but then they might have went after that goal, fell short, or it was too hard, or the fear came where they had to really step out of the comfort zone and step into the real thing. And what will happen is if they fall short or the emotions are too negative, their brain has that kind of bad experience from kind of going forward, you know what I mean? So they think about another goal, and then those automatic feelings from past failures kind of pop up. And it usually comes down to fear, or there's just something in the mind, like a belief system, that says you can't do it, yeah? So we all know that like in the first 7 years, our minds are like a sponge. And if a teacher goes up to a 5-year-old and says, you're a really stupid kid, you're not going to succeed, their unconscious mind won't really judge it. It won't say that's true or it's not true, it'll just accept it, yeah? Like in the first 5 years of your life, most people believed in Santa Claus. It made no logical sense, you know what I mean? A big fat man comes down, gives you free presents, does the whole world in the night. Makes no logical sense. The unconscious mind doesn't matter. The kids go, oh, Santa Claus exists, it must be true. So in the same way, throughout life, we've got like parents might be saying, oh, that's too hard, just stay in the comfort zone, or teachers say you're not really good at this, or they might have a friend saying don't go for that, or whatever it may be. So after hearing those suggestions throughout their life, most people have all these belief systems that just limit them completely, you know what I mean? Where as soon as someone says, you can do this, you are good enough, you can achieve this, their brain just automatically puts that little block up. It says, oh, that might not be true. So I know a lot of people, and it's quite possible for that individual to achieve right up here financially or in a relationship or whatever it may be. But then those little limits come in, those belief systems, and say, oh, that's not for you. You can't do that. And the problem is when you have a belief system, like we use an example with a lady, right? If a girl has a belief system that she's really unattractive or she's really ugly and fat, she might be the best looking, attractive young lady ever, but if she believes that she's ugly, as soon as a guy or a girl gives her a compliment, she rejects it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fit with her model of the world, it doesn't fit with her belief system. So her emotions actually make her avoid hearing that. Yeah. Where they'll hear that comment and they'll feel, oh, what do you want from me? And they get an emotional reaction. So that's an obvious example, but it happens with their goals as well. So if someone comes along and says, hey, you can run a marathon, and then they get that automatic reaction going, well, that's not part of my identity. You know what I mean? I can't do that. That's too much. This is in my comfort zone. So they start aiming their goals really, really low. You know what I mean? And it just limits people. So all these limiting beliefs of I can't do this, I can't do that. I got this big tooth here, and in my teenage years, I had a belief that said it's an ugly tooth.
Yeah.
Made me automatically, without thinking, never smiled in photos, made me less confident to talk in groups. I did a little funny thing in my mind where I changed the belief system. Instead of that's an ugly tooth, I changed the belief into chicks love it. Sounds stupid, but I was like 20, 21 years old, right? So I changed that belief system and instantly, automatically started to smile more, confidence increased to the point where even though I can change it, I don't want to anymore. So the box has kind of got lifted by changing the belief system.
Yeah.
So what people need to do is they need to start recognizing, hey, why do I think I can't achieve that? And whatever those belief systems are, they need to start to question them, because all it came from is somewhere in your life, you had a moment in time where your brain thought, that's not possible. You need to start scratching them out. You need to start finding what they are and then to scratch them out and replace it with something better.
Yeah, totally. Now, can other people or outside influences change those belief systems for us?
Yeah, for sure. Anything with an amazing, like a big experience can change it. Or if you have a coach or a mentor who you really trust, because then when you trust someone and you look up to them, they basically, your mind sees them as an authority figure. So what they say can sometimes overwrite what you've heard before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you might have had a teacher and they said something negative to you, but if all of a sudden you have a father figure or you have a coach or a mentor who you believe in more and they say the opposite, then your mind can begin to shift in that direction. The other thing can be is, I've seen this a lot with weightlifters. They don't think they can achieve much. All of a sudden they can start, squatting their body weight. Their brain goes, wow, I could achieve that. Maybe I can also achieve these other things.
Yeah.
So that's why for a lot of people, they need to have a goal and they need to hit that goal, because it just opens up the rest of life. We do a martial arts board break, where in 5 minutes we hold up a piece of wood and we teach them how to break a board. It takes about 6 months to learn, but we know how to teach it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And these people have never achieved a goal. They break the board and in their brain they start questioning, wait, if I can do that, maybe I can do all these other things as well. So that's the key. You got to have a goal that matters to you, and you got to work with someone like yourself or with me or someone else to really hit that first goal. It kind of starts opening up that box for you.
Yeah, no, definitely. What are areas in life that you feel like people have the biggest issues with when it comes to reaching potential that's further than what they're reaching right now?
What areas in life?
Yeah, what are common areas that people normally struggle with that maybe they don't even realize they're struggling with?
Relationships is probably the biggest one I see.
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah, things to do with self-confidence and self-worth.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. And it's really all of them, but those two are massive. And then the third option would probably be career as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people in their career, you ask them what they want to do. Some people have so shelved their real passions and their desires and dreams because they think they're not possible or think that they can't do it, that you start asking them, well, what do you want in life? And they can barely even tell you. Yeah. Because it's been so shelved and hidden that it's just locked away in there. You know what I mean? So I find that those kind of three areas are the biggest things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when people shelf these, their desires and their passions and the things that they really want to be doing in life, do you find they shelter them just due to their life experiences? Not enough people in their life who, obviously giving them the positive reinforcement to say, yeah, go for it. And with that, have the people around your life, there's a good saying, the 5 closest people around you make up, who you are. Tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, I see it like a garden, right?
Yeah.
If we got a toxic garden and there's there's weeds everywhere, it doesn't matter what seeds you plant in that garden, the weeds are going to choke out that seed. So you could have the most potential, you could be the most naturally gifted, genetically strong, whatever. If you're planted in an area of toxicity and like a dump, you're just not going to grow very well. You know what I mean? So it's just going to be like that. So if you're like this amazing person with amazing potential, yet your closest friends are negative, they're toxic, they're not wanting to grow, they're not wanting to change, they're all about themselves, they're trying to tear you down. If you're in a toxic relationship, if you're in a toxic friend circle, whatever it may be, it's just going to be hard for you to thrive. What will happen is when we've had this experience, when someone walks into the room and they're really negative and down, you can look at them and you can also feel the energy in the room change, yeah?
Yeah.
Right? So if your environment is full of that negativity, toxicness, you're always going to be in that state of mind. Now, what happens with the mind, right? Whatever emotions you're feeling, your brain starts thinking those thoughts. So when I'm angry, I think angry. When I'm happy, I think happy thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My wife, she's beautiful and amazing, but if I'm angry and frustrated, and she does something really nice, like give me a massage, I'm instantly, knee-jerk reaction is to react in frustration. You know what I mean? So I'm not an angry person, but that's an example. So if you're planted in life around toxic people who are negative, you're going to start feeling those same feelings, you'll start thinking those same thoughts, and it's going to be a downward spiral. Yeah, if you get out of that scenario, get out of the toxic relationships, get out of the toxic friendships, and start getting around like a good CrossFit box, right? Everyone's building each other up. all of a sudden the positivity starts making you feel better.
Yeah.
Someone walks in who they're really positive and happy, you start feeling positive and happy around them,
Yeah.
and you start building and encouraging everyone up. So it's really, really huge where you're planted, for sure. Mm.
And if you are stuck in an area where everybody around you is pulling you down, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, so the best thing you can do is you just got to understand one thing, right? You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. So sometimes if you have really negative family or whatever, you just need to know how to love them from a distance. But when it comes to friends, is the best thing. It's just like taking off a band-aid, yeah? You got to actually sit down and go, okay, where can I go? What environment can I get to where there's more positivity? And to start to branch away slowly. You know what I mean? You might need to work with someone like me, get a good coach or get a good mentor with someone who can kind of train you in the mindset to be confident to reach out. But the best thing to do is just begin to get out of those situations. The more toxic, the faster you have to leave.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation where the relationship is emotionally abusive or physically or whatever abusive, you want to get out of there as soon as possible. You want to reach out to someone so you have a support network, whether you have to pay someone or it's a close friend, and you want to really just start looking for those places. And it'll be easy enough. You can connect nowadays with social media, nowadays with CrossFit boxes and communities like that. You can really begin to find those areas fairly easily, but you just got to get out there straight away. Yeah. Just don't delay. Once you get out, you'll wonder why you waited so long.
Yeah. And now in that same scenario, let's say we change, going to a more positive environment with going to a more successful environment.
Yeah.
I think it's something that a lot of people go through in their careers, where you have a desire to get to, this is where you want to get to, but this is where you're at right now. And you just don't know how to get to that next stage. I had to surround myself with people who, have a mindset that's above what I'm at. So in that same sort of situation, how can people get to that next level of success in their career?
Yeah, so you said one thing that was key is you never want to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
You never want to be the most successful person in the room. You want to make sure you've got friends who you can kind of learn from and mentors and stuff like that. The other key is you always got to keep your vision in front of you. And a lot of people think that they're positive, but when they slow down their actual thoughts, they're focusing on what they don't want. So many clients will come in here and say, I don't want to be anxious anymore. I don't want to be negative anymore. My response is, okay, what do you want to be instead? Or just not anxious. I didn't say what you didn't want, what do you want? So it kind of shows me that the patterns of people's thinking, they're thinking on what they don't want versus what they do want. So when you're in that scenario where you go, I want to be at this level, I'm currently here, you need to make sure that you have that vision in your mind. There's an old proverb that says, without vision, the people perish. So you need to know, okay, I want to be here, and you need to create that mental picture in your mind. I was listening to a good testimonial yesterday, but the successful guy said that even though he was in an army barracks, he just kept his vision for his life here, always visualizing it. The unconscious mind has this crazy thing called the reticular activation system. So when you buy a new car, all of a sudden you walk out to the road and you start noticing that car everywhere.
Yeah.
I never noticed wedding rings until I was going to propose to my wife. Now I notice rings everywhere. So when you keep that vision of where you want to go in front of you, all of a sudden your mind starts directing your thinking and directing your actions towards that goal. And then when you face those roadblocks, because you keep focusing on what you want all the time, your mind has naturally more creativity going through your mind, finding ways to overcome it. That's when you'll reach out to the right coach, the right mentor, or you'll read the right book and you'll find a way past it. But if all you're focusing on is your stress and what you don't want, or the pain or whatever it may be, your mind's just got a wrong vision, and your mind will actually lead you to whatever you're focusing on. You know what I mean? So it's always about keeping that vision in front of you.
Yeah. Now, you just said something that's really interesting, and I'm not sure if people picked up on it, but with the example of the wedding ring, you don't notice things till you're ready to notice them.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like that happens a lot in life. We don't see that there can be success in life until you start realizing that you want more success in life, and then you start realizing, oh wow, it's normal for some people to be millionaires. It's normal for some people to not have to work 9 to 5. It's normal for people to be happy. It's normal to not be in bad relationships. It's normal to be really fit. It's you start seeing these different levels of normality. And I think it's really key for people to realize that just because what you know of the world is what you know of it to be true doesn't mean that's the only thing that's out there. And the second that you start just that little bit of of clarity starts going in your head, and you start realizing, oh wow, like maybe there is a little bit of this, that same sort of thing starts happening. You start realizing, oh wow, like, you know, there's so much more potential to life than what we see sometimes when we're really close to a picture. If we're really close, we only see what's in front of us, and as we start, you know, stepping back, we start realizing there's a bigger picture in front of us. The last thing I'd like to end with is, what's your definition of success?
Definition of success. My definition of success is kind of changed over the years. What it's come down to now is whatever you value most in life, is that area of life working for you. So for me, it used to be all finances and business and stuff. Nowadays, success for me is the things I value most, my marriage and my enjoyment of life. So I kind of look at those areas there, and also spiritually, I look at those kind of three areas and go, are they exactly where I want them to be? So because they're where I want them to be, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? Of course, other things, I'll keep working on them and making them successful, because those areas are the main three things. If they're going well for you, then I'm successful. You know what I mean? If those things are good, then I'm successful. So that's how I kind of plan it.
No, very good. Awesome. Thank you very much, Ben, for coming on the show today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. As always, keep checking us out on iTunes, and we'll be back with more awesome guests like Ben. Where can people find you, Ben?
Through my website. So if you go to benelliot.com.au, and then you can find me there.
Very cool.
On Facebook with Ben Elliot. Be your best.
Very cool. Awesome. All right, guys. Take care and peace.